Have you ever felt like you were holding on to a relationship so tightly that you ended up feeling trapped inside it, not because you're weak, but because your heart hasn't yet learned how to let go without losing its peace? I understand that feeling. I've stood on that thin line between loving someone and losing myself. And if you're standing right now at the crossroads of emotion and reason, this is exactly where you need to be. In this video, we're going to explore 13 Stoic principles, not just to help you emotionally detach from what's hurting you, but to guide you toward a life that is steady, calm, and deeply meaningful. This channel is dedicated to exploring Stoic philosophy and modern personal growth, where ancient wisdom meets the realities of today, helping us build inner strength and emotional freedom. If you believe we weren't born to be ruled by our emotions, but to live with clarity and purpose, walk this journey with me. Hit subscribe. And let's make this a space where we grow together and become the most grounded version of ourselves. Now, let's begin. Principle 1. Build a life so full. You won't have to chase what's gone. When someone leaves your life, they leave behind a gap. You know the kind I'm talking about, waking up to a silent phone, those afternoons when you instinctively want to call someone, only to realize there's no one there to answer. Most of us react the same way. We try to fill that gap with the very person who left. We chase them. We dig through old memories, believing that if they come back, the emptiness will disappear. But the truth is, even if they return, if your life still revolves entirely around them, that emptiness will stay. The real problem isn't where they went, but what you left empty inside yourself. The Stoics believed a steady life isn't built on another person. As Seneca said, the wise person is self-sufficient, yet not isolated. Your inner foundation must be strong enough that whether people come or go, you remain standing while still open to connection. Think of your life as a garden. If you plant only one type of flower, when it dies, your whole garden looks bare. But if you plant many different colors, different kinds, even when one fades, the garden stays vibrant. Life works the same way. Goals, passions, skills, and healthy relationships are your seeds. The more variety you nurture, the more doors remain open when one door closes. I remember a young man, Arshaba, fresh out of a breakup. He told me, "She was my whole world. Now I have nothing." I asked, "Before her, what was your world?" He went silent. That's when he realized he had abandoned his own life to orbit around just one person. From that day, he started rebuilding his story, going back to the gym, picking up photography, reconnecting with friends, not to erase her from memory, but to remember who he was. 6 months later, he said, "I no longer need her to feel alive." That's the power of building a full life. You don't run after what's gone, because you already have so much worth living for. And it's not about stuffing your schedule to avoid pain. It's about creating a rich ecosystem for your soul, filled with growth, connection, and joy from many sources. Start small a morning without checking your phone. A slow cup of coffee, a book you've been meaning to read, a call to an old friend, a personal goal, cooking a new dish, running 3 miles, or writing a single page in a journal. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." In your way of thinking, you don't need a grand plan, just small, repeated actions to build a strong wall around your inner peace. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. If you begin today, you won't be saying, "I lost everything." You'll be saying, I found myself again. That's a victory no one can take away. So don't let someone else's absence become a black hole that swallows you. Fill it with what feeds your mind and spirit. Build a life where even if someone walks away, you still stand tall, smile, and keep moving forward. And when you do, something strange happens. You stop chasing what's gone, and you start walking toward what truly belongs in your life. Principle 2. Understand the impermanence of life. Here's a truth we often avoid. Everything changes. People change. Feelings change. Circumstances change. And whether we like it or not, change comes anyway. Most of our pain comes from resisting that truth. We cling to someone as if they'll stay forever. We believe a relationship will always feel like it did in the beginning. We wish a happy season would never end. And when the inevitable happens, when someone leaves, when love fades, when life turns upside down, it feels like betrayal. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Even your body and youth aren't truly yours forever. The Stoics didn't say this to make us bitter, but to prepare us. When you accept that anything can change at any moment, you loosen your desperate grip. You start treasuring moments because you know they're precious, precisely because they don't last forever. Think of a close friend you once had, someone who was an inseparable part of your life. You talked every day, shared everything, and then, slowly, life pulled you in different directions. No big fight, just time and circumstance. At first, it feels like loss. But if you look back, you'll see it's happened before and you still kept living, loving, meeting new people. That's life's rhythm, arrival and departure, bloom and fade, beginnings and endings. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, imagining loss ahead of time, not to torture themselves, but so their hearts would be ready when it happened. You can practice this gently when you're with someone. Remind yourself that this moment is one of a kind. Be fully present. Say the kind words now. Smile more, because one day it will change. I once lost a dear friend before I could say thank you. We'd planned to meet, but I thought, there's plenty of time, I'll do it later. The next day, I got the call he had died in an accident. That sudden loss taught me impermanence isn't a theory, it's a fact, happening every day. Since then, I don't postpone my gratitude, my love, or mi apologies. When you embrace impermanence, you start releasing. You no longer clutch everything as if it could save you. You enjoy what's good while it's here, and let it go when it's time. This doesn't make love or friendship shallower. It makes them richer, because you know they're fragile. So next time you're in a beautiful moment or with someone you care about, ask yourself, if this were the last time, how would I live it? That question pulls you back into the present and helps you love more fully. Impermanence is a hard truth to accept, but it's also a gentle reminder. Don't wait to live. Don't delay love. And don't cling to what's ready to leave. When you live with that awareness, you stop fearing change. You move with the flow, and you find peace even in life's constant motion. Principle 3. Practice negative visualization. At first glance, the name might make you frown. Why on earth would I imagine bad things happening? Shouldn't we think positively to attract positive outcomes? The Stoics saw it differently. They believed that if you're willing to look squarely at the possibility of loss before it happens, you reduce the shock, minimize the panic, and increase your ability to face it with calm strength. I want you to try something. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing the person you love deeply is no longer there. No warning, no explanation, just absence. Sounds painful, right? But if you've already allowed yourself to picture this scenario, not to live in fear, but to remind yourself how fragile everything is, you'll respond differently. You'll know how to breathe slower. You'll remember, I've walked through this day in my mind before, and I survived. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nothing should come to you as a surprise, for you have meditated on its possibility." That's the heart of negative visualization preparation. I once used this principle when a close friend told me they might move overseas. My first reaction was denial. No way. Something will change. But I stopped myself. Each morning, I took a few minutes to picture life without them. No more coffee catch-ups. No late-night conversations. And finding joy in new places instead. When they actually moved, I still felt sad. But I didn't fall apart. I had already rehearsed that goodbye in my mind. And here's the interesting thing. When you imagine losing something, you don't just prepare for the bad. You also learn to value the good while it's here. If I know someone I love won't always be around, I listen more closely. I laugh more freely. And I never miss a chance to say, I appreciate you. You can start small with negative visualization. Picture a day without your current job and ask yourself, what would I do next? Or imagine life without a key relationship and ask, how would I take care of myself? This isn't pessimism, it's resilience. Once you've faced the worst in your mind, you fear it less and you're free to live fully in the present. The Stoics didn't avoid reality. They trained for it like a soldier preparing before the battle. You can do the same, not to dwell in darkness, but so that when darkness comes, you can still find your way back to the light. Principle 4. Focus on what you can control. Have you ever poured your heart into a relationship only to watch it slip away? You tried being more caring, more patient, more accommodating, yet things still didn't work out. I've seen this pattern in countless lives, including my own. We tend to believe that if we try hard enough, others will respond in kind. But the truth is, the thoughts, choices, and actions of another person have never been within our control. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Live by that, and you'll discover real freedom. I knew someone who loved desperately, believing that if he just tried hard enough, she would stay. He planned perfect dates, sent thoughtful messages, and gave in during every argument. But the harder he tried, the smaller he felt. One day, he stopped and asked himself, what can I actually control here? The answer was clear. He could control the way he loved, how he cared for himself, and which relationships were worth keeping, but he could not control another person's heart. When you shift your focus from what's out of reach to what's in your hands, you reclaim your strength. You stop living like a boat tossed by the waves and start steering your own course. This principle isn't just about love. In your career, you can't control the market, your boss's decision, or who gets lucky breaks. But you can control the skills you develop, the effort you put in, and the attitude you carry. Once you embrace this truth, you'll stop exhausting yourself trying to change the unchangeable. You'll know when to stop knocking on a door that refuses to open. And here's the beautiful part: when you no longer demand that the world change for you to have peace, you'll find peace immediately. So today, ask yourself, in this situation, what's truly within my control? Hold on to that. Do it well. Let the rest go. Principle 5. See the bigger picture. When a relationship ends or a door closes in life, it's easy to get trapped in the feeling of loss, so much so that it feels like the end of everything. The pain fills your vision, and you think, this is it. My story's over. But if you pause, take a deep breath, and step back, you'll see it differently. That loss isn't the whole picture, it's just one small corner. Marcus Aurelius advised view everything as if you are looking from above, from high above. A winding road doesn't look like a dead end. It's just one curve in a much longer journey. I remember losing a major work project I had poured months into. It felt like everything I'd done was for nothing. Then a mentor asked me, "Will this matter 5 years from now?" That question hit me hard. Seen from a wider timeline, I realized it was just one of many experiences shaping my career. The same applies to love, friendship, and any big change. If you focus only on the present moment, pain will consume your entire view. But if you lift your head, you'll see that you still have a long road ahead, and one setback cannot define your whole life. The Stoics compared time to a river. Every event flows past, carrying away both joy and sorrow. Nothing stays forever. And once you understand that, you won't let one temporary winter make you forget that spring will come again. So next time you feel stuck in loss, ask yourself, if I zoom out, what does this really mean in the grand scheme of my life? You may find that it doesn't erase everything. It simply makes space for something new to enter. The bigger picture is always there. You just have to be willing to look up and see it. Principle 6. You don't owe anyone the destruction of yourself. There's a trap many people fall into, especially when they love deeply or are emotionally attached. The belief that, to prove your love, you must sacrifice everything: your peace, your health, even yourself. You stay in a relationship that keeps hurting you because you're afraid they'll think you've given up. You carry all the problems on your shoulders, trying to fix every crisis. Even when the other person has no interest in changing, you put out emotional fires for them. All the while, letting yourself burn to ashes. The Stoics would tell you this isn't love, it's self-destruction. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Be tolerant with others, but strict with yourself." Tolerance doesn't mean letting someone repeatedly harm you, and being strict with yourself doesn't mean enduring without limits. It means having the discipline to protect your boundaries and dignity. I once knew a woman who stayed with a man for years, hoping he would change. He would disappear for a week, then come back with an apology. She thought, if I'm just more patient, if I love harder, he'll understand. But one day, he looked her in the eye and said, "I never asked you to care this much." That line hurt, but it was honest. Sometimes we take on responsibilities that were never ours to carry, and then use them as an excuse to destroy ourselves. You don't owe anyone the destruction of yourself just to keep them around. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. If they want to change, that's their decision. Your responsibility is to protect your own peace and worth. Seneca once wrote, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than necessary." Don't add wounds to yourself just to prove how much you love someone. If someone leaves you because you refuse to destroy yourself for them, let them go. The people who truly deserve to stay are the ones who want to see you healthy, peaceful, and standing tall, not broken to please them. Once you understand this, you feel lighter. You learn how to say no without guilt, and you learn how to walk away without feeling like you've failed. And sometimes, walking away is the greatest gift you can give to both of you. Principle 7. Build a life so full you don't have to chase what's gone. Once you learn not to destroy yourself to keep someone, the next step is to build a life so rich and full that you never feel the need to chase anyone for your sense of completeness. Because here's the truth. When we feel empty inside, we cling to anyone who gives us the illusion of filling that emptiness. But if your life is already abundant, you won't need to seek completion outside of yourself. I once met a man after a long breakup. He said to me, "I didn't just lose her, I lost part of myself." When I asked, "What part?" he fell silent. He realized the part he thought he lost was never hers. To begin with, it was his own neglected passions, friendships, goals, and self-confidence. The Stoics understood that happiness doesn't come from keeping someone at all costs. It comes from building a solid foundation within yourself. Seneca put it this way: "It is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the one who hankers after more. The less you need from others to feel whole, the freer you are." Think of your life like a house. If it only has one room, a relationship, then when that room is empty, the whole house feels cold. But if your house has many rooms, a career room, a passion room, a health room, a friendship room, a personal growth room, then losing one room doesn't make the whole house collapse. This doesn't mean you become cold or detached. It means you love and connect from a place of strength. You don't need to hold on to someone out of fear, because you know your life remains full, even if they walk away. You can start today with small steps. Spend time on a forgotten hobby. Learn a new skill. Invest in your health. Or reconnect with friends you've lost touch with. Every small action is like laying another brick in your foundation. And when that foundation is strong enough, you'll notice something powerful. The people who stay in your life won't be there because you need them to feel whole. They'll be there because you both want to walk the journey together. And that is the kind of connection that lasts. Principle 8. Turn rejection into inner renewal. No one enjoys the feeling of being rejected, whether it's in love, a job, or an opportunity you've been dreaming of. Hearing the word no can make you feel like you're not enough, like someone just slammed a door in your face. I know that feeling, and I've been trapped in those endless questions before. Why not me? What did I do wrong? If I change, would they choose me? But here's the truth. Those questions only pull you deeper into the hole of self-doubt. The Stoics offer a different perspective. Rejection is not a verdict on your worth. It's a redirection. Seneca once wrote, "When a door closes, look to see what it's steering you away from. It may be something that was never meant for you." I remember a friend who spent an entire year preparing for his dream job. He made it to the final interview round, only to receive an email that said, "We've chosen another candidate." At first, he was crushed. He felt like all his effort had been wasted, but instead of drowning in disappointment, he asked himself, "If this opportunity isn't mine, what can I do now that I couldn't before?" That single question shifted everything. He started a personal project, using the exact skills he had sharpened while preparing for the job. A year later, the project grew so much that the same company reached out to offer him a collaboration, but by then, he didn't need their offer anymore. That is the power of turning rejection into inner renewal. You stop seeing no as the end of the road, and instead, you see it as a pause, a chance to realign, to refresh yourself, and to move forward with even greater strength. If you're facing rejection right now, ask yourself, what is this forcing me to re-examine in my life? Have I placed too much of my value in someone else's hands? What's the next step I can take to become stronger? Because every rejection gives you two choices. Let it shrink you, or let it sharpen you. The Stoic will always choose the second, not because they don't feel the sting, but because they know pain is the raw material from which strength is forged. When you learn this, you won't fear rejection anymore. You might even start to welcome it, because it becomes the very thing that pushes you to rebuild yourself. Clearer, stronger, and freer than before. Principle 9. Detach without going emotionally numb. There's a stage in healing where you think you're fine. You no longer text that person. You don't cry when a song reminds you of them. You don't feel your chest tighten when you pass them on the street. But if you're honest with yourself, you realize you don't feel much else either. Joy has faded. Excitement is gone. Your heart has shut down, not just to that person, but to everyone. A lot of people mistake this for strength. I'm numb. I can't be hurt anymore. But the Stoic looks deeper and asks, are you truly strong, or are you just disconnected? Marcus Aurelius wrote, if something external causes you pain, it is not the thing itself that has power over you, but your judgment about it. Numbness doesn't change your judgment, it just turns off your feelings entirely. And that's not the goal of Stoicism. Stoicism doesn't teach you to freeze your heart. It teaches you to keep it open, but not be ruled by it. This is harder because it means you allow yourself to feel, while also knowing how to guard your boundaries. I once knew a man who, after his divorce, told himself, I'll never let anyone get close enough to hurt me again. For years, he kept that promise. He dated, but never let a relationship go deep. He worked, but avoided forming real bonds with colleagues. He wasn't sad, but he wasn't truly happy either. One day, he admitted to me, I can't remember the last time I felt alive. That's the hidden cost of emotional numbness. You avoid pain, but you also lose joy. The Stoic approach is different. Detach with clarity, not by shutting down. Detachment means you see things clearly, you love without clinging, you give without expecting a return. You are fully present, but you still keep yourself whole. Picture your heart as a garden with a fence. The fence isn't there to keep everyone out, it's there to protect what's valuable inside. You still open the gate for those who respect it, and you close it for those who don't. It takes practice. When someone hurts you, instead of locking the gate forever, pause and ask, where is my boundary? How can I protect it without burning the bridge entirely? When fear makes you pull away, take one small step forward. Send a caring message. Share a personal story just to remind yourself you can still open your heart without losing yourself. Epictetus said, the key is not to avoid feeling, but to avoid losing control because of feeling. When you detach in the right way, you still experience love, joy, and even sadness, but they no longer sweep you away like a wave. You stand on the shore, watching, choosing how to respond. This isn't easy. Emotions are part of what makes us feel alive, but if you let them run wild, they can drag you into relationships and situations that drain you, and if you kill them completely, you'll live like an empty shell. The balance is the path between those extremes. You can love without losing yourself. You can care without trading away your peace. You can let someone into your life without handing them the keys to your entire heart. And when you find that balance, you'll discover true freedom, the freedom to love, to give, and yes, to walk away when it's time. Not because you're hardened, but because you're wise. Principle 10. You were already whole. There's a belief many people carry for their entire lives that they are incomplete, just a missing puzzle piece. And only when they find the other half will they finally be whole. It sounds romantic, but it's dangerous because it places your worth in someone else's hands. The truth is, you were already complete from the moment you were born. Relationships, no matter how beautiful, are side chapters in the story of your life. They are not the entire book. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that your value doesn't come from how others see you, but from how you see yourself. When you forget that, you start living as if every nod of approval or word of praise is a missing piece needed to fix you. I once spoke with a man who had just ended a long-term relationship. He told me, "I feel like I've lost half of myself." So I asked, "What exactly is that half?" He fell silent. Then he admitted that during the relationship, he had made her the center of every decision, how he dressed, where he went, even what dreams he pursued for the future. When she left, he felt empty because he no longer recognized himself. But here's the truth. She didn't take him with her. He had simply set himself aside for a while, and now it was time to bring himself back. When you realize you were already whole, you love differently. You don't love to be rescued. You love to share. You don't seek someone to fill a void. You seek someone to experience life alongside you. You don't cling out of fear. You cherish out of gratitude, knowing everything is a temporary gift. Take a moment to look back at your life. Before you met the people who mean the most to you today, you lived. You laughed. You overcame hardships. You stood back up after losses you thought you'd never recover from. That alone proves your strength was never dependent on anyone's presence. Remind yourself every day, I am enough. I have always been enough. I will always be enough. No one can give you value. They can only recognize the value that's already there. A Stoic would tell you, build the life you want and the person you want to be. Even if no one is watching, let your pride in yourself come from within, not from someone else's approval. Because when you know you are already whole, every relationship becomes healthier. You no longer need anyone to prove that you are worthy of love. You simply invite them to walk alongside you, and if they leave, you remain as complete as you were before. Principle 11. Use discipline as the foundation for emotional freedom. When most people hear the phrase, emotional freedom, they imagine a light, carefree state doing whatever they want, feeling whatever they feel, living completely on impulse. But to the Stoics, freedom isn't about following every emotional whim. Freedom is when you have mastered yourself to the point that your emotions no longer control the direction of your life. And to reach that state, discipline is the only bridge that will get you there. Marcus Aurelius once said, "No man is free who is a slave to his emotions." That may sound harsh, but if you've ever made a rash decision in anger, or sent a text in the middle of the night because you missed someone too much, only to regret it, in the morning you understand exactly why discipline matters so much. Discipline is not a chain that locks you up. It's the solid frame that allows you to move freely inside without fear of collapse. Think of a musician. They can improvise beautifully during a performance, only because they've spent thousands of hours mastering their instrument. Emotional freedom works the same way. Do you want to stay calm when someone criticizes you? Do you want to pause before your emotions override your reason? Do you want to avoid being pulled into a toxic relationship even when your heart still feels attached? None of that happens by accident. It happens because you've trained your discipline day after day. Discipline in thought means choosing which thoughts to hold on to instead of letting your mind drift wherever your emotions push it. Discipline in action means not reacting instantly, but giving yourself the space to evaluate. Discipline in lifestyle means building habits that strengthen your stability, sleeping well, exercising, learning, and spending time with people who make you better. I remember a friend who went through a very painful breakup. His first instinct was to delete every photo, cut off all contact, and throw himself into short-term pleasures just to forget. But then he paused and said, "If I do this only because of how I feel right now, I'll pay for it later." So he set a rule for himself. No texting her for 30 days. Stick to his daily routine. And write down his feelings each night to reflect on them. At first, he said it was incredibly uncomfortable. His emotions wanted to explode. But day by day, he began to create distance from those impulses. And when the 30 days ended, he didn't feel the need to text her anymore. Not because he stopped caring, but because he had taken back control. The Stoics see discipline as the foundation of freedom, because when you live with discipline, you're no longer a prisoner of your emotions. You still feel everything: joy, sadness, even anger. But they can't drag you in a direction you haven't chosen. So, how do you train discipline for emotional freedom? Start small. Each morning, take a few minutes to set your intention. What principles will you live by today? When strong emotions rise, practice pausing and breathing instead of reacting. Keep a few non-negotiable habits: exercise, reading, journaling that anchor you in stability, and above all, be patient. Discipline isn't built in a week. It's the result of months and years of keeping your word to yourself. In the beginning, discipline will feel hard, even uncomfortable. But think of it like building a strong levee. At first, it takes effort to place each brick, but once it's complete, you can stand calmly and watch the river of your emotions flow by without being swept away. Emotional freedom is not about never feeling hurt or disappointed. It's about knowing that no matter what emotions come and go, you still control the direction of your life. And that only happens when you live with discipline. The Stoics would say, let discipline be your most loyal companion. It will protect you in the storms and guide you when the skies are clear. And once you have it, you'll realize no person, no situation can ever take away the freedom in your mind and heart. Principle 12. Train the art of mindful presence. Here's a truth. Most of us don't realize the majority of the time we're living anywhere but the present moment. We're either replaying old memories or imagining what might happen in the future. And because of that, we miss the only thing we truly have: this moment, right now. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus once said, "We are disturbed not by what happens, but by how we view it." And if you're looking at the present through the lens of the past or the fears of the future, your vision will always be distorted. Presence isn't some vague, mystical idea. It's the ability to be fully here. When you eat, you just eat. When you listen to someone, you truly listen. When you take a walk, you feel each step hitting the ground, the air brushing across your face. I once asked a friend, "When was the last time you had a cup of coffee without picking up your phone?" He paused for a long moment and said, "Honestly, I can't remember." It sounds normal in our age, but it reveals a deeper problem. If you can't simply sit with yourself and this moment, you'll always live in distraction, and distraction is the enemy of peace. Training presence starts with noticing the moment you get pulled away from it. Maybe you're eating, but your mind is arguing with someone in your head, or you're with a loved one, But thinking about an email you haven't replied to, each time you notice, gently pull yourself back with one simple question: what's the most important thing right now? Marcus Aurelius advised, concentrate on every task, as if it were the last you were doing in life. When you do this, time slows down. Small details become vivid: the sound of a friend's laughter, the smell of a meal, the way sunlight pours through a window in the late afternoon. Presence also anchors you against the pull of past emotions and future worries. If you dwell on someone who's gone, regret and sorrow creep in. If you obsess over something that hasn't happened yet, you lose today's peace. But when you return to the present, you realize in this very moment, you are still breathing, you are still safe, and you still have the choice in how to live. The Stoic approach is to turn presence into small daily habits. In the morning, when you take your first sip of water, really taste it. When you talk to someone, put your phone down and look into their eyes. When you walk, count your steps instead of letting your mind drift away. You may be surprised to discover that these simple moments are what make you feel most whole and alive. There's a story I love. A student once asked his teacher, "How can I find peace?" The teacher replied, "When you drink tea, just drink tea. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk." The student was puzzled. "That's it." The teacher smiled. "That's it. But you'll see, doing that will take a lifetime of practice. Presence is like a muscle. Every time you pull your mind back to the here and now, you make it stronger, and over time, you'll notice you're no longer swept away by emotional waves. You still feel joy, sadness, even pain, but you no longer drift too far, because you can always return to shore. The shore of this moment. Training presence not only makes you calmer, it makes life richer. You begin to notice the value of a hug, a simpler greeting, or even a moment of shared silence. And when you're truly present, you become a gift to the people around you because they can feel your undivided attention. In the end, presence is a gentle reminder you don't need to search far for peace. It's already here, in every breath, every step, every heartbeat. All you have to do is stop long enough to notice. Principle 13. Turn your pain into power. Every one of us has faced moments that made our hearts feel crushed. A breakup we didn't want. A betrayal we never saw coming. A dream that suddenly fell apart. And our natural human reaction is to avoid that pain or try to forget it as quickly as possible. But the Stoics saw pain differently. They didn't run from it, and they didn't allow it to consume them. They chose to face it and transform it into fuel. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The obstacle in the path becomes the path." In other words, what seems to be blocking you may actually be the very thing that shapes you. A few years ago, a close friend of mine lost his job overnight. For weeks, he sank into feelings of failure and shame. But one morning, he decided to rewrite the story in his head. Instead of saying, "I was fired," he told himself, "I've been released from a job that no longer fit me, and now I have the chance to build something better." Just that shift in perspective completely changed his energy. Pain, if you let it, can become one of life's most demanding but valuable teachers. It shows you your limits, your endurance, and what truly matters. A breakup can teach you self-worth and clarify what you really need in a relationship. A career failure can push you to learn new skills and open doors you never thought to walk through. Epictetus once said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, Wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. This doesn't mean you have to like the pain. It means accepting that pain is part of life, and then deciding how to turn it into an advantage. Think about the hardest seasons of your life. Didn't you emerge from them stronger, clearer, and maybe even grateful you didn't give up? That's the process of transformation. But turning pain into power requires two things: time and choice. Time to heal, and the choice to not stop at the wound. One practical Stoic exercise is journaling. Each day, write down what hurts and what you're learning from it. Months later, when you look back, you'll be amazed at how far you've come. Another approach is to share your story with others. When you use your experience to lift someone else up, your pain stops being just a burden. It becomes a gift. One of my students once told me, "If it weren't for that painful event, I would have never discovered my true strength." And I believe that if you apply this principle, one day you'll say the same. The Stoics understood that pain is unavoidable, but suffering prolonged. Self-inflicted suffering is a choice. You can let it break you, or you can let it forge you into the person you've always wanted to become. When you know how to turn pain into power, you realize nothing that happens to you is entirely meaningless. Every crack, if you are patient, lets the light in, and sometimes those cracks are the most beautiful parts of you. My friend, life will always bring loss, change, and pain we cannot avoid. But in the middle of all that, you still hold one power. No one can take away the power to choose how you respond. The Stoics don't promise an easy road. What they offer is a way of life where discipline becomes the bridge to freedom, where presence brings peace to each breath, and where pain transforms into strength that carries you forward. If you're standing in the middle of a storm today, remember, storms never last forever. And when it passes, you will not be the same. You will be stronger, wiser, and freer. Ask yourself, will I let this pain define me, or will I use it to redefine my life? The answer lives in the small choices you make each day. And those choices, not your past, not other people, will decide who you become. So, live with discipline. Be fully present. Let every wound become a milestone for new strength, because in the end, you'll see everything that once knocked you down has become the very foundation that holds you up today.